was the 90s. Mama didn't understand it, and Daddy always said that I was going too far. Said there's never any compromising if you try to win the battle to be who you are. I dance to the left, I dance to the right, hold hands with my demons and creatures of night, on an undercover mission to find somebody else like me. Is there anybody out there? Is there anybody out there? Someone who can hear me and drink from the light, to see things from the same side. Is there anybody out there? 5 years later, I'm back with the same old faces and dead end places. Things kept going wrong. I'm getting to thinking my daddy was right all along. So will you take a little walk on the wild side? Be careful that you never slip your hands from the wheel. There's never any compromising when you're blinded by reflections from the part of you that's real. I dance to the left, I dance to the right, hold hands with my demons and creatures of night, on an undercover mission to find somebody else like me. Is there anybody out there? Is there anybody out there? Someone who can hear me and drink from the light, to see things from the same side. Is there anybody out there? I dance to the left, I dance to the right, hold hands with my demons and creatures of night, on an undercover mission to find somebody else like me. Is there anybody out there? Is there anybody out there? Someone who can hear me and drink from the light, to see things from the same side. Is there anybody out there? Somebody else like me. Somebody else like me. Somebody else like me. Somebody else like me.
You know, after last week's show, I had enough sense to actually use my VPN for SmackDown tonight, which made it more tolerable during some of the matches. So that way I didn't have to deal with commercial palooza like we did on SmackDown last week. Tonight, we got to talk about a few things. We got to talk about the return of the WWE Champion, Cody Rhodes. We have not seen Cody in many weeks since McIntyre gave him a Claymore kick in the bottom part of the announce table. Apparently that killed him dead. We haven't seen Cody since. So there he was tonight, Guile, in all his presence, back on SmackDown. And the match has been made for WrestlePalooza next weekend. It will be Cody Rhodes defending the WWE Championship against Drew McIntyre. That was coming off the Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre main event that we had here on this show, which was solid enough. I didn't think it was a great main event, but it was solid enough. We had 2 championship matches on this show. We had one match that was anything but solid. We had one championship match that was tremendous between Sami Zayn and Rey Fenix in the U.S. title open challenge. This is a match that you should go out of your way to see. If there's one thing from SmackDown tonight that I would say you need to go out of your way to watch, that would be it. The other championship match that we had on the show was for the WWE Women's Championship between Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill. And while I cannot heap the same amount of praise on that match, it was not a bad match. Actually, I thought it was slightly better than the match they had at SummerSlam, which was not a bad match either. But we had no resolution to their issue. We had no winner decided, but Nia Jax was the last woman standing when it was all said and done. So we are heading towards a triple threat match very soon for the Women's Championship, a very, very weak top of the division right now. I don't know what's going on with the top of the SmackDown Women's division, the championship, the main title. Very, very weak, especially when you compare to what's going on the Raw side right now. They really need Bianca Belair back as quickly as possible. And even getting Bianca back, there's work to be done. Yeah, because you have Charlotte and Alexa, they're off doing the tag team thing. And Bianca's been out for months, ever since WrestleMania. It really shows that we are now back to Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax again, with a little bit of Jade Cargill thrown in there. So that part of it is not great. Brock Lesnar was also promoted for this show tonight, not John Cena. John Cena is done with SmackDown. You are never going to see him on SmackDown for the rest of this retirement run. We'll see him on Raw this coming Monday. But we had Brock Lesnar on the show tonight. Now, if you have Brock Lesnar on the show but no John Cena, it stands to reason that if Brock is going to do anything, he's not going to be attacking random people. You would hope that, we've got Brock Lesnar coming out and talking about why he's been going around kicking this guy's ass. Maybe we'll get some sort of explanation for why. Why now? Is it just that he wanted to give him one last ass kicking before Cena calls it a day and signs off and rides off into the sunset? I'm still wondering what the answer to that question is, because we didn't get an explanation tonight. We didn't get much of anything from Brock Lesnar except a very memorable moment. And look, this shit happens on live TV sometimes. You don't want to be the person that it happens to. If you're Brock Lesnar, you just sort of laugh it off, right? Who's going to make fun of Brock Lesnar and point and mock him and, do anything other than just laugh along with him? We saw more of Brock Lesnar at the end of that segment than I care to see. And when there is a wardrobe malfunction, that is the most newsworthy part of a Brock Lesnar segment, that tells you there wasn't a whole hell of a lot to that Brock Lesnar segment. But that is what we had here on SmackDown tonight. Now, for all of the goings-on and happenings here on SmackDown tonight, the big news of the day, and I'm not going to dwell on this because I'm going to save this for the sound-off on Sunday, but the big news of the day, and they promoted it here on the show tonight, the big announcement that Triple H was teasing the other day. Triple H was dropping these hints on Twitter about changing the game, some sort of game-changing announcement that there was going to be today. And we already knew what it was going to be because it leaked. It leaked a couple of days early. And it was exactly what we expected it to be. At 3 o'clock this afternoon in Las Vegas, which is where WWE is right now for Worlds Collide, which is happening as we speak, they made the announcement that Saudi Arabia will play host to WrestleMania 43 coming up in 2027. And they had a bunch of stars on the dais there. They had Shawn Michaels, and they had The Undertaker, and they had Bianca Belair, and they had Charlotte Flair, and Seth Rollins, and Logan Paul, and they had Liv Morgan, who we haven't seen in many months. And she looked like she would rather be anywhere but where she was. But they had them all lined up. Triple H comes out, and they made the announcement. WrestleMania, not Super WrestleMania, not the greatest WrestleMania, WrestleMania itself will be coming to Saudi Arabia in 2027. And look, whatever your opinion may be of that news, and there is a lot of opinions, a lot of divided opinion about that announcement, might also depend on where you live in the world. Forgetting that for a second, I made a comment on Twitter after the announcement was initially made and the event was still ongoing. And I made a comment to the effect of, still waiting for this quote-unquote game-changing announcement to be made. Maybe it'll be made at the end of the event, and it never was. Because that's how Triple H couched it, on social media the day before. Now, I'm just wondering, where's the game-changing part of this announcement? And if I tell you all of the dumb shits that came out of the woodwork that were leaving comments under this tweet all throughout the afternoon, it would make your head spin. And one thing I learned very clearly today on social media, and specifically X, is that people on that platform have the reading comprehension of a pineapple. So let me break it down very succinctly here for the people who, dropped out of school, which was most of the ones I had to interact with today. I was making a comment about the so-called game-changing nature of the announcement. And if you want to dispute that and you think it was a game-changing announcement because, oh my God, WrestleMania is leaving North America for the first time, I had a lot of people saying, oh, WrestleMania is going international for the first time, which is not true. Blatantly not true. But okay, if you want to make that your argument, well, it's game-changing for this reason, it's game-changing for that reason. It's a matter of semantics here. We're playing with words, okay? I don't look at it as a game-changing thing for a variety of reasons that I will get into on Sunday. But we could have that difference of opinion. What I don't like is when people read something that clearly isn't there and they manufacture some message or narrative in their head that doesn't exist. So if I tell you how many messages I had to sift through today, sifting through message after message, people who read that tweet, who turned it into, oh, well, if you don't like it, then don't watch it. Or, oh, you must hate the people in this part of the world. Or, oh, if you hate this so much. And I'm like, again, the reading comprehension of a pineapple. I'm like, what exactly are you talking about? Where in what I wrote are you getting this? Like, where is this coming from? I couldn't understand it. Didn't make any sense to me. Just dumb shit message after dumb shit message after dumb shit message. It was unbelievable. Wrestling fans, yeah, really showing their ass today on social media. So that was the nature of what I was dealing with coming out of this big announcement, this big event that they held earlier today. This was not a surprising announcement. Nobody should be surprised by this announcement. They have had a relationship with Saudi Arabia now for over 7 years. They have hosted countless events at $50 million a pop, right? And I'm sure they're going to extend that relationship when it comes up. It was a 10-year deal when they signed it, and it started in 2018, so you do the math. Something like this was inevitable. For the money that they are paying for these sporting events, and it's not just wrestling. There's boxing events, and there could be mixed martial arts events. There's all kinds of events. For the money that they're doling out, right? They have Live Golf, all this stuff. It was inevitable that they were going to get a WrestleMania. They got the Royal Rumble. They're going to be in Saudi for the Royal Rumble in January. We now have a date on that, by the way, January 31st, so that much we know. So WrestleMania was only a matter of time. I'm not surprised by it. There's going to be a lot of people who are very upset because they go to WrestleMania every year and now they can't because they're not going to fly to Saudi Arabia or because they simply are not going to be able to afford that trip. You think prices in Las Vegas for this year's WrestleMania and next year's WrestleMania are wild? What do you think those prices are going to look like in Saudi in 2027? There's going to be a lot of people who make WrestleMania their destination vacation every year who now are not going to be able to go. Have every right to be upset. On the other hand, there's also a lot of fans who live over there in that part of the world, or specifically in Saudi Arabia, including people who listen to the podcast who I interact with on a regular basis, who I know are going to be very happy that they get to go to WrestleMania for the first time, and I'm happy for them. So again, I'll get into the nuts and bolts of this when we talk about it on Sunday, because I also think there is opportunity here. Moving WrestleMania out of the United States overseas, which is, by the way, going to be airing in a completely, different time zone. So depending on where you are, WrestleMania is going to be airing a lot earlier in the day. It presents opportunity for others, which I will get into. But just, again, the stuff that you see on social media, it's unbelievable. And I hear this expression used a lot, and I think there's a lot of truth to it. Social media is not real life. Like in my everyday interactions with people or when I meet people, I don't meet people that generally come off this dumb. There's a lot of dumb people on social media. It boggles my mind. When you post something and then they respond to something that I have to do a double take and go back and reread what I wrote just to try to figure out what are they talking about. I mean, I would have a better interaction with this fucking wall than I would most of these people. It's pathetic. Let's talk about SmackDown. This is your SmackDown review. It is Friday night. It is September 12, 2025. I am the Solomonster. Like and subscribe. Super chats are open. I cannot go any further without acknowledging.
Holy shit.
We got a boots bomb. Yes, we got a boots bomb. Before I went live tonight, $100 bomb from our boy Boots. I hope you're doing well, my friend. I think he said he might be a little inebriated right now. It's the best way. Hey, after today, I wish I was a little inebriated right now. So you got the right idea. But Boots, thank you. I appreciate that. And anybody else who wants to drop a super chat, especially after today's news, we'll be reading your messages a little bit later on. So
I am the last.
oh, man. Shut the fuck up. Right on cue. Right on cue. Fuck that tree. Holiday 197. Good to have you, brother. Thank you. Is that Steve? There's Steve. Shout out to Steve. Correction. There are a lot of dumb wrestling fans on social media, unfortunately. You know, I think most of them are limited to the X platform. Seriously, ever since Elon took over, it's just awful. The way he loosened certain things and the idiots kind of crawled out of the woodwork. It's terrible. It really is. Like, if you just live on there 24 hours a day, like, what a depressing life that must be. It's just unbelievable. But Steve, thank you. Thank you, my friend. I want to point out something else. We had yesterday, I actually pushed it out last night, a brand new retro episode of The Sound Off. And this one is going back a ways. Yes, the lost episodes are back. I have not uploaded an older episode in quite some time. I intend to do more. Get back on that horse. Episode 14 of The Sound Off from February of 2008 is up right now if you are a Legends tier channel member. So all my Sound Off channel members, if you are on the Legends tier, you have access to that episode. It is up for you right now with more to come. Talking about a whole bunch of things in that episode. Whatever was going on in the world of wrestling back in February of 2008, that's what I'm sounding off on. So if you didn't get the notification, just be aware of that. It is up right now. And again, I'm going to be working to get episode 15 up very soon. So if you are not a channel member on that Legends tier, now is a good chance to take advantage of that and get in the party. All right, let's get into this SmackDown show here, because we had a different announce crew for tonight's show. We had the NXT crew, Vic Joseph and Booker T. They took over the announcing duties for tonight's show. Corey Graves was on the call in Vegas for the AAA Worlds Collide show. And Michael Cole, based on some of the recent performances he's had, he could use a few days off. He could probably use a few weeks off. So I didn't have any issue with them rotating the NXT crew in there. After replaying what happened last week where Brock Lesnar attacked John Cena and Sami Zayn after their match for the United States Championship, Brock Lesnar opened this week's show. Brock Lesnar is in the main event. He is closing the show at WrestlePalooza. That's what Joe Tessitore confirmed on ESPN today. I think we already figured that was going to be the main event, but it is confirmed. John Cena versus Brock Lesnar will be headlining WrestlePalooza next weekend. Brock Lesnar comes out to cheers, but when he gets in the ring and they stop his music, we hear chants of "You suck" directed at Brock. Before he could say a word, he didn't even get a word out, R-Truth's music hit. And R-Truth comes out and he raps his way to the ring. What's up? What's up? Right? I mean, it's like, if you would have pushed a button and taken you back to 2012, 2019, 2023, it's the same R-Truth. He comes out, he raps his way down to the ring and into the ring, and he says, "I'll tell you what's up." And Brock cuts him off immediately and says, "Man, shut up." Truth said that he was going to be the first WWE superstar to say, "Brock, welcome back." And Brock laughed. Truth said that he used to be scared of him, but he's not scared of him no more. And Brock said, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't even know who you are. And you better have a damn good reason for coming out here and interrupting me." Truth said that Brock's been disrespecting his childhood hero, John Cena, for the past 25 years. Brock asked him, how old are you? He's older than Brock. They tell you that. He's older than Brock. He might not look like it, but he's older than Brock. He goes, how old are you and what is your name? So Truth told him, and he said that he's done with the disrespect. Brock said, he's here for one thing tonight. I'm looking for John Cena. Do you know where John Cena is tonight? Truth told him that he doesn't. Brock wanted to know, again, why are you in the ring right now? I had the same question watching this. And Truth told him he was here to defend his older brother, John Cena. And your name is R-Truth. And Truth said his name was Ron Cena. It's got a Ron Cena chant. So you don't know where John is? No, I don't. And so why are you here right now? I felt like I was in some sort of like infinite loop watching this. Like, are we going to move the conversation along here? We're just going to repeat ourselves over and over again. So he goes, I'm here to stop the disrespect, Brock. John Cena is built different. He went crazy this year. He made a little kid cry. Super Cena is coming for you, dog. And he's fueled by hustle, loyalty, respect, and 2 drops of those kids' tears. So he won't be running from the beast. He'll be feeding on him. And you're his brother from another mother, says Brock. Says, no, we got the same daddy. Comedy. Do you know that you're missing a tooth, he said. And before Truth could even answer him, he scooped him up on his shoulders and he gave him an F5. Now, this was all a colossal waste of time, but in giving him the F5, when Brock popped back up to his feet, he had split his pants, the back of his pants, right down his ass crack. I mean, it wasn't like a little, he split his fucking jeans, okay? These weren't some flimsy, shitty pants that he was wearing. He was out there wearing jeans. And somehow, I don't even know how you do that, honestly, but he split his jeans. And like the way he jumped up, it was almost like his underwear rode up into his ass crack or something. And he immediately realized, and he starts laughing, and you could see him, he's kind of mouthing the words, I ripped my pants. And then he bends over, because now he's like, in his head, he's like, okay, I gotta roll with the punches here. How do I handle this, right? So he bends over to moon everybody, full moon. You could see his blue underwear. I know that you watch for these details here. So then he danced a little jig. It's been a while since we've seen Brock dance. Remember Mariachi Brock from many years ago? So he dances a little bit in the ring as he's trying to figure out what to do here. And then he leaves the ring. And as he's walking down the aisle, he's looking directly into the camera. And he tells Stu, the cameraman, he goes, fucking Stu, I ripped my pants. Blue underwear, he said. And he smacked hands with the fans like he was a fucking babyface as he walked to the back. Brock ripping his pants. He was wearing Batista's skinny jeans. Maybe so, but still, to rip your pants is one thing. To rip your jeans, though, like that's impressive. Brock ripping his pants was the only entertaining thing about this segment. Outside of that, this was a gigantic waste of time. Instead of actually hearing anything of substance from Brock Lesnar, who was headlining this first big ESPN event, right? This first big PLE on ESPN, well, technically ESPN Unlimited. That's the name of the app. Instead of giving us any sort of real promo or explanation as to why this has been going on lately, what we got here was campy Vince McMahon comedy with him in Truth. I don't know what the point of that was. I mean, some fans had a nice laugh about it. Okay. I mean, it's an interesting choice, taking this storyline, this angle of all things, and turning it into comedy. The real comedy, though, was when Brock split his pants. That was the most entertaining part of the entire segment. And that was the last time we saw Brock Lesnar for the rest of this show. I don't even know why they bothered even having him show up. Why even waste the Brock Lesnar appearance on this show if that's all you're going to do with him? That's how they opened the show. After this, we had a vignette from Solo Sikoa where he expressed anger. He's by himself. We didn't see the other MFTs. He expressed anger about having lost his bloodline. He lost his Ulafala. He lost his United States Championship. I was waiting for him to say that he lost his smile as well, but he never said that. He vowed to take back what he lost, said that he lived in the shadows of others for far too long, and it was time for others to live in the shadow of him and his family tree. The MFTs, I will say this, they definitely don't live in the shadows. I mean, they get at least, three or four segments on the show on most weeks? I'd like to banish them to the shadow realm for a while. They certainly aren't living in the shadows, I'll say that. In the back, Sami Zayn was talking to his latest challenger in the U.S. Title Open Challenge. They kept the camera on Sami, so we couldn't see at first who he was interacting with. But he said they're going to have a hell of a match, and he was looking forward to it. The camera panned over to show Rey Fenix. Yes, the forgotten Lucha Bro. At least Penta actually gets television time on Monday. I can't say the same for Rey Fenix. But he was there tonight. And he shook hands with Sami, and Sami left. And that led to our first match of the night, the best match of the night, the only match of the night that you really need to pay any attention to. Sami Zayn defending the United States Championship in this open challenge against Rey Fenix. No boos for Sami this week. I was waiting to see what the reaction would be. He was booed a lot in Chicago last week, and I just couldn't really understand why. And I figured it, if anything, I mean, it had more to do with just a very pro-John Cena crowd in Chicago, and anybody who would have come out of that situation, or almost anybody, probably would have been booed. It's the only thing I could really come up with. And so he comes out tonight. I said, that will be the test to see if that carries over into other cities. And it did not. So there were no boos for Sami Zayn tonight. Although, I will say, they went to commercial 90 seconds into this match, and during the break, the crowd did start a very loud "Let's Go Phoenix" chant. But that's different than booing Sami. Coming out of the break, Sami hit a beautiful tilt-a-whirl backbreaker that only got him a 2 count. Phoenix then countered out of a blue thunder bomb with a head scissors into a pin, only for 2. After that, a super kick buckled Sami. Phoenix fell down on top of him, only got a 2 count. Phoenix then headed up top. He crashed and burned on a moonsault. Sami went for a haluva kick. Phoenix, though, moved. He did a forward roll into this great DDT, and both men were down heading into the second commercial break. During the break, they were on the ropes. Sami hit a sunset bomb, only for a near fall. So we got chants of "This is awesome." Not the first, actually this was the first, but not the only time in this match that you would hear the fans chanting that. Sami headed back up to the top. As he came down, he fucking ate a super kick here from Rey Fenix for a great near fall. And a close one. So much so that poor referee got chants of "Ref, you suck." Sami got to his knees, and he ate a couple of kicks to the chest, like yes kicks. And it looked like it was just making him mad. But then Phoenix delivered one just flush right to the face, and Sami went down. They came back out of the break, and they ended up back on the ropes again. It looked like Sami was going to go. It looked like he was actually setting up maybe for like an avalanche, attitude adjustment or something. Phoenix got free. And so with Sami still sitting on the ropes, but he was sort of bent over, like hunched forward, Phoenix jumped over his head, double stomped the back of his neck, and then landed on his feet in the ring. And then he followed that with a springboard moonsault onto Sami, and he covered him. Sami kicked out. So now they went at it. Phoenix hit the ropes. Now picture Jay Lethal going for the lethal injection, right? Phoenix hits the ropes in the same way, but when he comes off the ropes, Sami catches him and spins him, drops him with a blue thunder bomb for another great near fall. So these two, I mean, at this point in the match here, these two were cooking with oil. Sami caught him. He gave him an exploder into the corner. Now he's setting up for the haluva kick. He's setting up for the kill shot here. As he came in, though, Phoenix jumped up, took him over with a Rana, had his legs hooked forward, Sami, though, kicked out. So we got more chance of this is awesome. This is indeed awesome. Phoenix hit the goodbye amigo kick, then came into the corner for another kick. This kick missed, though, and Sami gave him another exploder, and this time he would not be denied. The Haluva kick connects, and then into the cover, and Sami Zayn retains the United States Championship. And all I wrote on Twitter when this match was over, although, again, it's probably a pointless exercise because, again, like I said before, reading comprehension of a doorknob, but I wrote on Twitter, what a fucking match. What a fucking match this was here. And I'll tell you what, I don't know how long they're going to drag this open challenge gimmick out for. It may just be for a few weeks. It could be for a couple months, right? We don't know. You give us more matches like the one that we got here on this show, this will rival, potentially, if not exceed the quality of the John Cena US title open challenge that we got 10 years ago. If you give us more matches like this. This was tremendous stuff. And I think about other potential opponents for Sami. You really want to have fun with this open challenge here and get him in the ring with guys that maybe he just hasn't worked with before, like tonight, right? He had never worked with Rey Fenix before, one-on-one. You've got Andrade, right? Phoenix's, I guess, now former tag team partner, who also has been just out of the picture, not seen for a while, really not seen since the TLC match at SummerSlam. Why not get Sami in there with Andrade for a match? Why not get him in there with a Nathan Frazier? Why not get him in there with Axiom? Carmelo Hayes is an obvious one. Carmelo Hayes is the next one. Because in a backstage segment later in the show, Hayes confronted Sami and said, I got next. Finally, he smartened up. He's been trying to get a word with Nick Aldis for weeks now, and Aldis keeps blowing him off, and then The Miz gets involved. I'm like, dude, after last week, Sami opened this challenge up to anybody. I'm like, how dumb is Carmelo Hayes going to look knowing this if he doesn't just go right to the source? I'm like, dude, just either confront him in the back, or if Sami comes out and throws it open to anybody, you be the first one to walk out. Like, if Carmelo Hayes is not the first person or one of the first people to, again, accept this open challenge, it's like, what are we doing here? So he wasn't the first, but I was happy that he actually went up to Sami in the back and said, I got next. And Sami said, okay, don't miss. So then Miz showed up. He was not happy when he found out that Hayes had done this. He didn't think that he's ready to be the United States champion because Miz, of course, in the past has been the United States champion, and he's more interested in them going after the tag team titles. But he was not happy about this. That seems like a very bad sign for Carmelo Hayes next week. I am not expecting Carmelo Hayes to win the United States championship, but it's a first step. We'll see where it leads to, but it's a first step. This open challenge, I'll tell you what, though, would also be good as a way to introduce a new talent from NXT. And so a couple of the names that I immediately come to mind for me, Ethan Page, Javon Evans. And it doesn't have to be like a full-time call-up. Javon is not somebody I would call up full-time just yet. Ethan Page is absolutely ready to be called up. I've seen some of the stuff that he's been doing with Chelsea Green. And I do think that could be a main event act on SmackDown. I would actually love to see them paired up together. I think that would be good for both. So someone like Ethan Page, absolutely, I could see him on the main roster today. Ricky Saints is another one, but he's obviously involved with, I guess, Obafemi right now. But yeah, like someone like that or a Javon Evans or, whoever. Name whoever you want. But you can really throw it open to a whole bunch of different people. And all it takes is one standout match like the one we had tonight to really, make an impact here on this show. So this was tremendous stuff, though. As far as and I just hope that Phoenix does not get, banished back to catering and we don't see him again for 6 weeks. My thing is, if you're not going to do anything with Phoenix, it would be better to just put the Lucha Bros together. It looked like they were really pushing Penta as a single there for a while, and maybe they had plans for him, maybe with the Intercontinental title, which he ended up not winning. Unless there's some sort of solid singles plan for him coming up real soon, I think both of them would be well served to just be put back together as a tag team and let them have a tag run together right now. You could still do singles with them, but I think Penta and Phoenix reunited would be much better. It would be good for both of them, but it would be much better for Phoenix because it's very clear they don't really have a real plan for him. Penta, they have him doing stuff with New Day and Grayson Waller, which is not terribly interesting, but at least it's something. Phoenix, especially after a performance like this, Phoenix deserves more. He needs something. That might just be it. So they aired a video here, one of these VHS style videos with Bo Dallas and the rest of the Wyatt Six. And Bo asked where the Street Profits go from here now that they failed their test. Eric Rowan said that he was sad to see Tez and Dawkins acting this way, but it's common for people to not see what they have until it's gone. Dallas said that they weren't the ones who sow the seeds that sprouted horns. And then he tells us to follow the buzzards. Sure. Okay. In the back earlier today, they showed Julia and Kiana James confronting BFAB. Talked about them stepping up to her girl, Michin. And Julia said that she could talk smack if she can back it up in the ring tonight. And that brings us to our next match, which was not a championship match. And actually, it wasn't a match at all, as it turned out. But it was supposed to be Julia one-on-one against BFAB. That's not what we got, though. Instead, what we got here, before the match could even start, Julia and Kiana, they assaulted BFAB. They tossed her into the barricade. Back in the ring, James was stomping on BFAB. Julia delivered a running arrivederci knee to the face. She then bent BFAB's arms behind her back and was holding her with her arms behind her back like she was about to give her a curb stomp. Before she could do anything, though, she was frozen in her tracks by music. It was Michin's music. And Michin comes running out, and Julia sends Kiana to go take care of her. So Kiana leaves the ring, and Michin, of course, has a kendo stick, which is every woman's weapon of choice here in WWE. So she whacks Kiana across the ribs with it. She gets in the ring. She took a swing at Julia. Julia ducked and escaped the ring to safety. I cannot be mad that we did not get BFAB in the ring tonight against Julia. I can't say that I was greatly looking forward to this match, although it would be nice to see Julia wrestling on a regular basis. But wasn't much of a segment either. It sets up an obvious tag team match if that's the direction they want to go in. You do Michin and BFAB against Julia and Kiana. I mean, I've said my piece on Julia. What more is there to say? This is just... She's in mid-card hell right now in WWE. And the mid-card is not always a terrible place to be, but the mid-card is very hit or miss. You can have a mid-card feud that actually is interesting and engaging and can be used to try to elevate somebody so that one day they are in the main event. You could have a mid-card feud that clearly is being put together because we have to do something and we don't know what to do. That's kind of what this feels like. She may be the United States champion, but what they have done with Julia since she left NXT and came to the main roster to do has been underwhelming, and I'm being polite when I say that. They aired a video with the WrestleMania Saudi announcement from earlier today where everybody was making different comments about how great it is and they're the biggest of all time and all the things that you would expect them to say to build up an announcement like this. More on all this Sunday on Sound Off 929. Then we got an Aleister Black video where he warned that he is the sickness and the cure for Damian Priest, who he beat on last week's show. They can keep fighting because of Priest's code and die by it, and he calls himself the prophet of violence. After this, we had our second championship match of the evening. Tiffany Stratton defending the WWE Women's Championship against Jade Cargill. This was a rematch from SummerSlam. Jade immediately went for a pump kick. Stratton avoided it. Jade tried to lift her up, got met with a high drop kick. So Cargill got the advantage with a power slam, followed that up with a suplex attempt that Tiffany was able to avoid. Jade ended up outside the ring, which allowed Tiffany to vault over the top rope with a dive. That took us into the commercial break. So Jade delivered a fall-away slam coming out of the break, kipped right back up to her feet. Stratton fired back with a spine buster. Both women are down. Jade attempts a powerbomb. Stratton, though, reverses into a head scissors. Tiffany did a flipping back elbow, the handspring elbow that she does, and a double stomp. She finished the combo off with a top rope swanton bomb for a near fall. And again, I know I've said this before, she does the swanton bomb, and she waits until the last possible second to tuck her head on the landing. And man, I'm just telling you, every time she does that, she is tempting fate. It looks like she's about to face plant like a javelin right into the mat. Tiffany set up for her prettiest moonsault ever. Jade, though, was able to shove her down as she scaled the ropes. So she hit a powerbomb out of the corner and covered for a near fall. Jade went for a choke slam. Stratton rolled through for 2. She followed with an Alabama slam. Stratton went for another moonsault, but Jade rolled out of the way, and Jade did this great-looking pump kick. So now both women were down. They traded strikes out on the apron. Jade went for a spear, ended up posting herself, shoulder first. Tiffany went up top, missed a moonsault to the floor. She looked like she smacked her head real good on the landing there. As Jade got up, she speared Tiffany. Both women went crashing through the timekeeper's barricade. Meanwhile, the referee had been counting the entire time. Now both women are down. Referee counts 10, throws the match away. This match is a double countout. And the fans booed. They were not happy about that. They would be less happy about what came next, because after it was over, a wild Nia Jax appeared at ringside. She attacked both women. She sent Jade into the ring steps and then delivered a Samoan drop on the floor. Then she brought Stratton into the ring and hit an Annihilator. And so at the end of this women's championship match, the last woman standing at the end of all this was Nia Jax. So we're back to Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton with a little sprinkle of Jade Cargill thrown in there. So there's a triple threat match incoming very soon. I don't know that they're going to add that to the WrestlePalooza card. They could, but it just feels like probably going to be a SmackDown match at some point. What else do they have right now? I look at this and I groan just because we've been there, done that with all three of these women, but especially Tiffany and Nia. And even some of their matches were not bad matches, but like been there, done that, and it just feels like we're rolling down the hill backwards here. But then I think, and I look at the roster that they have on SmackDown with the women right now, and I just, I kind of throw my hands up in the air like, well, what else are they supposed to do right now? They don't have any depth at the top of the food chain in this women's division on Friday nights. Bianca Belair is, I don't know if she's cleared and they're just waiting for a chance to bring her back. If she's still not cleared with the finger, I don't know what's going on there. All I know is that she has been out of the ring since April, and she has been sorely missed on this show. At least by me, she has. And even if they were to get her back very soon, it's still not enough. I mean, there are changes that have to be made here, whether it's moving one or two people over from Raw, whether it's calling one or two people up from NXT, because it's not like they have, a lack of female talent in the pipeline down there. Sol Ruca could be on SmackDown right now. Jordan Grace could absolutely be on SmackDown right now. Blake Monroe could be on SmackDown right now. Take your pick. You don't need all three. One to start would be okay. That would be nice. But they've got to make some changes here because the women's title scene on this show, really for both titles, very, very weak. And it's too bad about the finish here because I actually thought they were having a good match before that. I would even put it slightly above the match they had at SummerSlam. Although they were very similar matches and about the same length. This one might have been a couple minutes longer. If I had one thing I could compliment them on, they were able to hold off on sending Nia out there until the match was already over. Not that it was much better than a double countout finish, but Nia did not interfere in the match. They waited until the match was over, and then she came out and did her business. Backstage, as Nick Aldis walked out of his office, he was accosted by Chelsea Green and Alba Fire, who were leaning up against the wall waiting for him to come out. And they demanded a women's tag team championship match. And Aldis proposed that the two of them face the winners of the tag team title match that is taking place next Tuesday at the NXT Homecoming show. NXT is back at Full Sail University, for those who don't know. That's the period where I first started watching NXT full-time and became an NXT fan. The old Full Sail days. They're going to be back there. It's kind of like an anniversary show on Tuesday. And Charlotte and Alexa are going to be defending the women's tag team titles against the Culling. Tatum Paxley and Izzy Dame. So he said the winners of that match, you guys can get them for the tag team titles. And they were very happy about that. Where is Piper Niven? She's still gone. She's still missing. There's something going on with Piper Niven. I don't know what it is, but there's definitely something going on there. After this, they aired a long video package on the history between John Cena and Brock Lesnar. And this was narrated by Joe Tessitore. Like something you would see before a big boxing fight on ESPN, if they were doing some sort of history package. And it covered their beginnings in OVW. They even had some training footage of them in the ring at OVW, training together and shaking hands at one point. They covered the move for each to WWE, their Backlash match from 2003, Lesnar's exit from the company in 2004, and Cena taking the torch as the face of the company after he left. And they promoted part 2 will be coming up on the show next week, which is going to be 24 hours before WrestlePalooza. So it was a good history lesson, especially for fans who may not be familiar with their past together. But this one segment was better than anything that John Cena or Brock Lesnar themselves have done in the last few weeks to actually promote this match at WrestlePalooza. It just shouldn't be that way. They're just relying on their star power. That's really all it is. They're relying on the fact that they have history together, 2 major names, a lot of star power there. Brock's first match back in over 2 years. There it is, by the show. Like, they have done the absolute bare minimum, and even that, I don't even think they clear that benchmark in terms of what they've done with these two. So the video package here, the history lesson they gave us, was better than all of that. All the segments they've been a part of put together. It's pathetic. They went backstage in Vegas, where Rey Mysterio was. He was being interviewed. This was at the Worlds Collide show, which again is taking place as we speak right now. As he was being interviewed, Dominic Mysterio walked in, said that he would be the first Mysterio to be the mega champion. He told his deadbeat dad that if he wins, I need you to come out and strap the title around my waist. So Rey said, sure, if you win. And Dom said, when he wins. So Rey left and Finn Balor walked in because Finn Balor has a match on the show as well. And Balor said that Dom would prove that he's the greatest luchador of all time when he won the title alone. Good luck. They closed the show. This is the end of SmackDown already. They closed the show with Randy Orton one-on-one against Drew McIntyre. Orton sent McIntyre crashing into the outside, crashing outside with a clothesline out over the top. They went to a break early in the match. During the break, Orton was in the ring and he's shaking his leg out. And he's teasing that he may have tweaked his knee. Might be some issue there with the knee. So Orton hit some Garvin stomps and a running knee drop. He grabbed at his knee again. McIntyre noticed this. He took control by kicking the leg and then delivering a chop block. He drove his shoulder into the bad knee. He applied a figure 4. Orton reversed the hold to reverse the pressure. McIntyre was able to roll to the ropes. The action spilled outside. They battled near the announce desk. McIntyre suplexed Orton onto the announce desk and then hit another chop block on the floor. And that took us into yet another commercial break. McIntyre continued to target the bad knee. He went for another figure 4. Orton, though, shoved him into the ring post. And he hit a power slam. And the crowd fired up. Orton set up for a draping DDT. McIntyre escaped to the floor. Orton followed him out. He returned the favor, suplexed McIntyre onto the announce desk. And then he did it again after the crowd chanted one more time, so he obliged. Orton was very sluggish getting back in the ring, kind of like the pace of this match. And McIntyre delivered a Claymore kick, but he rolled to the floor. Orton came back. He delivered an RKO after McIntyre tossed him back into the ring. But then Drew rolled to the apron. So Orton pulled him back in with a draping DDT. And then he got that look in his eyes. He set up for the punt kick. But the referee jumped in the way to stop him. McIntyre used that distraction to shove Orton towards the referee in the corner. Orton stopped short so he didn't squash him. But then he turned around right into another Claymore. And Drew McIntyre pins Randy Orton. So after the match is over, Drew set up Orton next to the announce desk. He was going to go for a third Claymore kick, but he had him set up kind of by the bottom part. He was going to do to him what he did to Cody Rhodes. Enter Cody Rhodes. They hit his music, and out comes Guile himself, the WWE champion, done with filming. Time to get back to this wrestling thing. He charges down to the ring, sprints down to the ring. You know, I have to say, how very nice of him to wait in the back very patiently all night, all match, until we had 90 seconds left in this show to finally make his grand return. Just sitting in the gorilla position the entire time, having a snack, watching the show. Finally, he comes out. He sprints into the ring. He's a very patient man. He sprints into the ring. He attacks McIntyre. He drops him with a Cody cutter. Cody then took the mic, said the champ is back, and he would see McIntyre at WrestlePalooza. He really emphasized the Palooza part. WrestlePalooza. So that match is now official. It'll be Cody Rhodes defending the WWE Championship on that show against Drew McIntyre. We got a good 15 minutes or so here of working the knee. We got 15 minutes of working the body part. And for all of those 15 minutes of working the knee, it did not even play a role in the finish of this match. I don't know what the point of that was. I really don't. It's not even like when Orton went for the punt kick, he kind of tripped because the knee gave out on him. Nope. 15 minutes of working on the knee, and it didn't even factor into anything in the end. There was nothing, and look, there's nothing wrong with working a body part in the match. I mean, Orton has certainly made a career out of that type of ring psychology, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but I just thought here it made for a very dull match. You know, you do the methodical type match, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. This was a solid match, but it really, for a big match like this, it wasn't anything out of the ordinary that you wouldn't see in your average SmackDown main event. I expected the Cody return here. That was not a surprise. He had to return here. They had no choice. If they're going to have him wrestling at WrestlePalooza, which of course they're going to because he's the WWE champion. It's your first ESPN show. Why the hell would he not be on that show? If you're going to have him wrestling and defending the title on that show, tonight he had to come back. Next week is too late. You need at least one more week to promote that match. So he came back. He made the save for Orton before Orton was going to get his head caved in. And Drew was going to do the same thing to him that he had done to Cody. And then Cody made the match official. Question now is, what role, if any, does Randy Orton play in this match at WrestlePalooza? Right? Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But as far as this show here, look, some solid in-ring action on the show with this and the women's title match. But honestly, the only things of any real note were the Sami Zayn match, which was excellent, and the return of Cody Rhodes, which they rushed through at the very end, literally the last 90 seconds of the show. They rushed through it there right at the very end. Other than that, not much to the show. Very disappointed with their use of Brock Lesnar here. Look, when the best thing I can say about it is that he split his pants and laughed about it. I mean, that pretty much tells you everything you need to know about their use of Brock Lesnar on this show. What did you think of SmackDown from Norfolk, Virginia? Here's the Twitter poll right now. 66.6. Uh-oh. The mark of the beast. 666. 33.4% thumbs down. So that is the poll so far. Let's go through Super Chats. I know we got some to go through here. Guile Guile from Street Fighter. We are at 282 likes, so Be the Booker will not be happening tonight. Very disappointing. Let's see here. Well, again, I mentioned Boots at the beginning. Boots had that big $100 bomb. So Boots, who may or may not be passed out at this point. I don't know where he is, but Boots, thank you, brother. If I can find your message here. There it is. It may be the Cerveza talking, but I get a kick out of Ludwig Kai, Grande Americano, singing Cielito Lindo. I could use a Cerveza right about now. Joseph Stewart, buy or sell, Woody or Buzz Lightyear? Joseph just thought this was such an exciting show tonight on USA Network that he decided, you know what? I'm going to ask about Toy Story and Woody and Buzz Lightyear. Boots on the floor. Yeah. Steve says boots on the floor. Oh, man. Me, I got to go Buzz Lightyear. I think Buzz Lightyear is cool. How different would Sid's career have been if he was the one to beat Vader at Starrcade 93 for the world title? You know what? I honestly don't think it would have made that much of a difference. I think that there would have been some inevitable falling out. He would have left. He would have ended up in WWE. And he would have won the championship there. I don't see Sid as the world champion at that point in time in WCW leading to some sort of business resurgence for WCW. I don't think it would have changed his career radically. What is your favorite Billy Kidman match in WCW? Is that a trick question? I wish I could tell you. The implication there is that I have one. Holiday 197, hey Solo. What are your thoughts on WrestleMania being in Saudi and the reports that they're aiming to bring back Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Rock, and Stone Cold for this pay-per-view? Well, I will talk more about it on Sunday, but I think that is very stupid. We need to be going forwards. We do not need to be going backwards. So that part of the report, which is all rumor right now, a lot of it came from Meltzer and the Observer, but I think that's very stupid. I have no interest in seeing, really, most of those people, frankly, back in the ring. And keep in mind, we're talking not even this year or next year, 2 years from now. They'll all be 2 years older than they are now. I certainly have no interest whatsoever in seeing Undertaker back in the ring. That I can tell you. Joseph Stewart, do you remember when David Flair, Daphne, and Crowbar were a trio in WCW in late 1999? I do. And I actually covered that in the Dark Side of the Ring episode on her that they did on Daphne. He also says, I heard a rumor that Kiana James has heat in WWE backstage. Do you know if it's true? I've not heard anything like that. So I'm going to say no, it is not true. Base Barris will get annual Arabian WrestleManias. They can afford it. I'll tell you what, if it just boils down to money and nothing else, if they want WrestleMania 5 years in a row, if that's the criteria now, then yeah, they may be the permanent host of WrestleMania. Joseph Stewart, do you remember when Raven formed a group with Vampiro and the Insane Clown Posse in WCW called the Deadpool in late 1999? I don't. Could Rick Steiner have been WCW champion like his brother Scott Steiner? No. No, Rick Steiner is not world championship material. Broly 7, Julia and Tiffany could be wrestling Lyra, Io, Asuka, Becky, Rhea, Kyrie, Roxanne. Get Soul, Jordan, and Fatal Influence on SmackDown. From your lips to the wrestling god's ears. They got to get somebody up there. Something has to be done. Tiffany's run, ever since she beat Charlotte at WrestleMania, her run has been as forgettable as you could possibly expect it to be. A completely forgettable run as champion. Holiday says, where was Jacob Fatu tonight? He's starting to blend in as another mid-upper card guy. They need to put him in a meaningful storyline. Oh, well, didn't you see Solo Sikoa's video tonight? Solo Sikoa is probably going to be coming after Jacob Fatu. They're going to run that back again. I wouldn't be surprised. Boots with another 10 will... oh, here he is. Has the constant ads for Canelo versus Crawford piqued your interest? I think I might watch it. No. It has not for me. But if you watch it, enjoy, brother. I don't hear about too many big boxing fights anymore. They seem to be few and far between. Stevie Hurley. So would you call this Sweet Saudi Money 8? This takes the cake. They were doing so many shows, I stopped doing the names a long time ago. This would have to be like the ultimate nickname that we would have to come up with. Joseph with the $2. Cena done. I'm done too. Rest in peace, WWE. Rot in hell. Wow. Well, I mean, there you go. I think that pretty much sums it up right there. Rot in hell, he says. Holiday 197. Thoughts on Dominic Mysterio turning on the Judgment Day and joining Seth's faction? This would lead to an interesting feud between Dom and Finn Balor and give Breakker and Reed more motive to go after the tag team titles. So the implication there is that the Judgment Day would go babyface? I mean, Liv Morgan will probably end up being a babyface when she comes back anyway, so I mean, you can make it work. Dom and the Vision? I don't know if I see Dom in the Vision, though. I don't know if I like that. I mean, your idea could work, though. I don't know that I would do that. Dried Chicken says, time to pop the champagne bottles for WrestleMania 43. Super Sweet Saudi Mania. Also, this $5 super chat from him says he would roast Brock on the mic. Hell, I'll fight Brock and piss TKO. Yeah, you do that. You do that, brother. The Sheltered Kid. Ever watched Camp WWE? Did you like it or no? I did. I watched it. I liked it for the most part. I liked Storytime more, though. Storytime was another one of those WWE Network shows when they actually gave a shit about doing shows like that. I like that one more. MacTub. Greater all-time for you overall, Kane or Seth? Kane. Dried Chicken says Triple H has turned Julia into a boring, stale, mundane noodle. Creative team should be arrested. Julia has so much personality in her. Yeah, it's just a matter of coming up with the right stories, you know, to kind of bring it out of her. MacTub, has Cody surpassed his father's legacy for you? No. Not yet. Dried Chicken, buy or sell, disrespected EVP Bucks or Morning New Day? Disrespected EVP Bucks. Far more entertaining. Bobby Means, with Saudi getting Mania 43, is there a chance of it being live earlier in the day? Like around 1 or 3 p.m.? Well, of course. It's going to be a live show, so the Saudi shows here usually start, I think, at 1. I'm expecting WrestleMania to start around 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. One of the benefits, I suppose, for me. Get to watch the show earlier and go live earlier. But as I said before, it opens up opportunity for other people. We'll cover it more, a little more in depth on the podcast this Sunday. You know, it's whatever. It's just so deflating seeing the different comments from just so many idiots online today who incorporated, of course, the tribal nature of things. Yeah, I saw it degenerated into a WWE AEW thing. I mean, it's just the typical bullshit that you would expect to see, you know, in terms of some of the online discourse. But again, I mean, nobody should be surprised by the announcement. This is something that was inevitable. It's happening maybe a little sooner than I thought it would. I do think it's a slap in the face for them to get it before the UK does, but it comes down to dollars and cents. And there's no way the UK can compete with the amount of money that we're talking about here, which was not and never is going to be officially announced. But the belief is that it could be upwards of $200 million for one show. Technically two, because it's still going to be 2 nights, but for one weekend. What other country is going to be able to compete with that, right? The UK can't compete with that. They can't just blindly throw that money around. That's why I said, like, if it literally just comes down to money and nothing more, it is not out of the realm of possibility that, you know, the Saudis could end up getting WrestleMania the year after that. Look what happened with Vegas. Look at what happened with Vegas. They literally sent The Rock out on live television in New Orleans to announce that WrestleMania 42 was coming to New Orleans. And then they changed their mind. When they saw how much money they made this year in Vegas, they couldn't even wait. We got to go back to Vegas. Sorry, Nola. We got to go back to Vegas. Why? Money. This is the first WrestleMania in Saudi. I guarantee you it will not be the last. We'll talk more about it on Sunday. That's going to be episode 929 of the Sound Off. Fried Chicken says, imagine Io Sky doing Darby's coffin drop in WWE. She doesn't have to. She's got her beautiful moonsault that she does. She doesn't have to go around stealing other people's moves. And really, whatever the number is, whether it's 150 million, 200 million, it could be more. It could be 250 million, right? We don't know. But even 100 million, it's insane. You know, it's crazy. But they're going to go where the money is. You know, fuck everything else. It's just how they operate. Nobody should be surprised. You could be disappointed by it, but nobody should be surprised by it. But this idea that this is some sort of game-changing type announcement, again, it's all a matter of semantics here. I fail to see what's so game-changing about this. There's nothing game-changing about this. This was as predictable could be. They've been running shows in Saudi for years. They've been doing large stadium shows in international locations for years. SummerSlam has expanded to 2 nights like WrestleMania. It doesn't mean what it used to mean. There's nothing game-changing about this. I'll tell you whose game changed today, though. Maybe you could argue was their bank account, certainly. But again, they make a lot of money off these Saudi shows, so they'll make a little bit more for WrestleMania. To me, that doesn't change the game. You know, it changes the total in their bank account. But in terms of the audience, when you put out a message like that it's a game changer, I fail to see how it really changes the game for everybody else. Anyway, I know there's a lot of people who are watching Worlds Collide right now. I will have to check it out after myself. We did not hit the goal tonight for Be the Booker. So we will try again on Monday. Monday will be a week since we've done Be the Booker. So we'll see if we hit it on Monday. Duff's Vid, we might have a drought going on here, but I'm not lowering the goal. The goal is a minimum 400. So people that have asked, we are not lowering the goal. I might raise the goal. Duff's Vids, I was told yesterday that I was colorblind. The news came right out of the purple. Right out of the purple? Is that a turn of phrase that I'm unfamiliar with? It's good to hear from you, Duff's Vids. Who was that in the background when Sami had his segment with Mello? Was that Nakamura? Was it Nakamura? Oh my God, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Fucking Nakamura is still lurking. I did not notice anybody in the background, honestly. So I can't tell you who it was, but if it was Nakamura, you've just got to be kidding me. Oh, I see. Ah, ha, ha, ha. Yes, of course. Out of the purple. Okay. All right. Yes. Out of the blue, out of the purple. I don't know how I missed that. Very good. Out of the purple. How did I not get that? Anyway, be well. Stay safe. Have yourselves a great rest of your night. If you're going to go watch Worlds Collide, enjoy. Whatever I see of Worlds Collide, we'll review that and talk about that on Sunday as well. Should be a big show. And I will see you back here for more live YouTube streaming on Monday night for the Raw post show. Until then, take care, guys.